Hi everyone, on the bench today I have this unit EW100G2. It's a wireless unit from Sennheiser, and this is from my pastor at the church, and he actually mentioned that for the past 2 weekends he was having trouble with peak and scratch noise. So we even had to find a different cable with a jack, which I fixed it for him. However, it seems that the unit itself is at fault, as he mentioned as well. He said, oh, there's a problem where the unit are random. You see there's a VU meter in here with AF, and there's an AF peak here. It's actually doing this at a very random times. Whenever you actually see those things, sometimes we start tapping on the unit just to see if there's anything that is actually loose, that could be scratching on a ground plane or on a voltage on a voltage line, or even simply two wires being loose. So nothing really seems to actually trigger that consistently. When I hit it, I actually shook the unit quite a lot. Even the batteries sometimes, right? I flip the batteries, but they don't seem to be consistent with causing this problem. And even the buttons itself, the set and the higher and lower volumes in here. So nothing really seems to be it seems to be mechanical. Sorry, it seems to be electrical, not mechanical. For mechanical, you would tap somewhere and then you consistently see a peak happening. So in any case, I'll have to actually remove the batteries, power it off, and disassemble. Let's go. Oh, and I forgot to mention as well that a few months ago I replaced the jack. The jack was faulty, and he sourced the jack. He bought a bag of 10 jacks from somewhere. I couldn't identify, perhaps so Amazon or AliExpress or something like that. So there is a possibility that the jack itself might have a loose part. Although when I plug the connection, when I make the connection, it doesn't seem to have anything mechanical loose or about to be destroyed. So I don't know. We have to take a look at it. Okay, removing 4 screws, Torx screws. We can actually remove this bottom side here. Got to be very careful with this. There's a lot of small little bits for buttons and for locks and things like that they actually see that they keep falling. Always have to keep track of those small bits in here. They need to be absolutely sure of that. And this is how the unit opens. It opens in a clamshell of sorts. So in a first inspection, what you really want to see is if there's any cracks on the board. You actually move it a little bit just to see if there's any cracks or anything like that. And at a first glance, I'm not really seeing anything. The part here for the antenna is most probably not the problem, because this part here, I mean the VU, the audio VU is the one showing the peaks. So it's clearly not something on the RF, unless the RF is actually shorting with something else. But at this point, I really can't see anything, can't fault the RF with what I have now. And I'm really looking closer in the board, in the top board at least, and I'm really not seeing anything at fault here. Naturally, unless one of these capacitors started to go down, or problems, similar problems like that. But I don't see any bad contacts, I don't see any chipped parts of it, I don't see any really hairline cracks, although I need to look at better into a microscope. I wish I had one, electronic one, to show you, but I'll have to do this really close inspection off camera. But now what remains to me is simply open up this part of the circuit, remove this top board using the Torx screws to see what is at the bottom. Another thing that usually you are always suspicious is these switches. Sometimes these switches start developing problems simply due to the mechanical nature of them. and they may actually have developed a little bit of a dirt or grime, and then they may actually be flipping or scratching the audio. Okay, I'll open up this board and hopefully we'll see something else. I think I found the problem. Looking at the switch, I decided to turn on the unit with everything open, and I decided to tap. The switch is in fact the mute switch, but as I was tapping, you see I'm just tapping on it, and you see how the mute comes and goes. I'm not seeing any peaks or anything like that because I've been flipping the switch quite a lot, but it seems a problem that this switch is developing. Maybe it's simply a matter of cleaning its contacts, and everything should be better now. It stopped doing the peak and whatnot, and hitting in the unit, nothing happens. So I suspect that the mute switch was starting to develop this bad contact. So I guess it's just a little bit of spray, a little bit of deoxit. See, now it's a little bit better. It's a little bit better? No, it's really a lot better. Maybe it's just a cleanup on this mini switch in here, which is understandable because this would be something that we actually flip on a regular basis, and with the grime or the grease of the fingers we could potentially get into, mechanically speaking, could potentially get into the switch contacts. So okay, so I'll go use some spray cleaner and hopefully that will fix it. Okay, so I opened the equipment so I could have a total access to the opening of the micro switch, and then I can actually put the deoxit, which is the contact cleaner. Usually what I do is this: I blow a little bit on a wipe because this is very strong. I try to blow as minimal as possible, but then whatever is lasting on the small on the small pipe here, I put it on the contact, because typically it's more than enough to actually penetrate the inner side of the switch. So by doing this, and after you do this, you keep switching, so the contacts themselves, the mechanical action of the contacts actually help, together with the deoxit, they actually help finalize the cleaning and remove any problems. Another thing that I actually, after I disassembled, I was actually paying attention very closely. Let's see if this angle will be good. I was actually looking very closely to the contacts themselves to see if there was any broken solder, but no, the switch is firmly attached. I didn't see any bad solder joints. The problem itself was inside the switch. Just if you're curious, here's the radio part of it. The radio part is entirely on the top here with the big shielded cans, and it's fully connected to the bottom side via this small flat flex here. One thing that you need to always be careful is all these tiny little buttons and things. They fall very easily. When reassembling, one of the most fragile parts are those flat cables. You need to be able to push this flat cable to the maximum possible so it can be inserted into this place here, and then pull back here. These connectors, and make sure that it's actually well connected. These connectors usually are not rated for many insertions, typically in the order of 5 or 10 insertions maximum. So you need to always be careful with those. Okay, now this is minimally assembled. Before I completely close everything, let me just see how the audio is behaving. Okay, no peak, no bits. Let's see here. It's in mute. Okay. Yeah, so it's no false mute happening, no nothing. I'm glad this deoxit worked well. So it seems to be much better now, much more stable now. Well, not very interesting, just a mechanical slash electrical conductor issue. Nothing much more interesting with solderings and other investigations, but at least it is working now. Seems much more stable now. Huh. Interesting. The mute button was causing problems, but also it seems the battery is causing problems too. The problem came back. I just closed it and it started giving me grief. I wonder if I close it. Certainly the mute button was causing problem. I'll leave it running for a bit. Maybe something has to heat up. Oh, there you go. I don't know if it's a heat up problem or not. Yeah, so the problem is not fully solved. Certainly the switch was a problem, but now I'm starting to suspect that maybe this battery contacts might be bad. I don't know. Anyways, I'll have to do a thorough cleanup on this battery contacts. Yeah, it seems to have something to it. Okay, sorry, it's already closed. The unit's already closed. I've been actually trying it out for a good part of the last 15 to 20 minutes. I think the problem is solved, and it boils down to really indeed the contacts on these batteries. I did a thorough cleanup. Oh, and also I resoldered the contacts that go from these battery holders to the PCB. They didn't seem cracked, but they certainly may get some stress, especially when you're opening and closing this unit. So I really did an extra drip of solder just to be absolutely sure that the connections were still very solid, or were very solid again. And I really I can't see any more peaks. I just twisted around the batteries and whatnot. I did a cleanup on the contacts and on the springs. I really can't see any fault in it. So I guess it was either the soldering or these guys here, the cleanup, the clean job that did it. So I guess I'll leave it at that for today, and I'm glad that the unit's actually very stable now. Has been running for a good part of 15 minutes without any of the peaks and scratches and things like that. Oh well, that's it guys for today. Hope you have liked. See you next time.